Weird science
is the revolution.
I like the Nightwing, right? And very easy for me to explain what is going on with Nightwing and Heartless. Here it is. Nightwing has Heartless, who's going and ripping hearts out of all these people in Bloodhaven, and he's doing shit about it. There it is, Eric. Here's the entry point. But he's doing something now, or is he? It's Nightwing number 115. It is Fallen Grayson Part 2. Tom Taylor writing, art by Bruno Redondo. Keo Felipe on inks, some of the inks, Adriana Lucas and Wes Abbott. You end up having a full-out Heartless deal. And finally, for once, if Dick Grayson isn't going to do anything, why not have Heartless do things? And there's some things in this issue that might be the best things that we've had since this Tom Taylor run that actually gets me excited to see what's going on. And I do like the idea.
I think it's one of my favorite issues of Nightwing.
I believe it is mine as well. And I had it on my best of and surprised the hell out of people because we have been down on the book. And we always say, Tom Taylor's Nightwing, it's not an awful book. It's not ruining the character. No. It's not, mean-spirited like some writers think. It doesn't seem like Tom Taylor.
It's just dragging him in a wagon behind him saying he's great.
Yeah, again, some writers write a character as if they're embarrassed to write them. They don't want to, like in this day and age, whatever. The opposite is with Tom Taylor, where he came and immediately seemed to become the PR agent instead of the writer. There was rarely a story, and it was everything had to go with, hey, Nightwing, he's awesome, isn't he? And you get to a point, even if he is your favorite character.
We said he's awesome 5 times in a row. Let's have a gimmick issue.
Yeah, you have to have something else, and then a gimmick issue, and then you do. And
back to saying he's great 5 more times.
There's times where I will say just complete bullshit. Maybe some people think I just did with the John Stewart. But the Nightwing book, I remember when the Titans showed up, and I said to you, I don't like them showing up. It takes the power levels, it skews them in the book, and it sets up that Nightwing never has to do anything himself. We kind of argued about it because at that point, we didn't have a Titans book, and you were desperate for a Titans book. You were there just for the Titans book, and I kept saying to you, I don't like it. He's not doing things. And remember when Wally said, I'll just zip around all the time to make sure you're okay. And I said, nothing can happen now.
With a little help from my friends.
And so then, even though I was just saying it at the time, it got worse and worse. He can then be the Pirate Queen. Nobody Everybody solves things for Nightwing in it. And it's funny, too, because of all this, I just did the Solicits podcast. And the final solicit for Tom Taylor's run is like, Nightwing has to have the final showdown with the Heartless. But luckily, he has his friends with him. He always has his friends with him. But that's fine.
Are they friends, Jim? Or are they family?
Well, they're both. But the best thing in this issue, which actually is so crazy, because this is what we actually have wanted from the beginning, I think, is the idea that at the end, it looks like Dick Grayson is screwed, that he is going to struggle, and he struggles through this. Now, there is a little
How do you come back from this cliffhanger?
That's what I'm saying, and that's where I think, oh my God, Dick Grayson's screwed. How is he going to get out of this?
On the satellite.
I don't want to sit there and say, because in this, Wally running fast is not solving it. Starfire coming in is not solving it. He is screwed, and that is exciting.
You better run back in time and stop some shit from going down.
I mean, it's exciting. Now, to get there, I will tell you that I think that it plays Bruce a little dirty and some things, but we'll get to that. But when you first start out, you end up having that gala they were at, and everybody's there, including Haley.
Big old fundraiser for the Pennyworth Foundation.
And all of a sudden, there's a fire. All the sprinklers are
going off.
They have to get everybody out of there, and the art looks really cool. But when they get out, I told you beforehand while we were doing the thing where you end up where Dick says, okay, can you get everybody out to Barbara? So Barbara says,
everyone, there's no reason to panic. Please calmly and quickly follow the adorable dog.
Yeah, the adorable dog is here. We're going to go up here. No elevators. We're going to get up 2 flights of steps. Let's calm down. Next panel is Bruce and Dick losing their minds.
Keep funneling the main door.
I mean, Bruce is screaming at the top of his lungs. If you came
with friends or family, please make sure they're with you as you leave.
Oh, my God. It was so crazy.
There was no panic until Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne entered the picture.
No panic at all. So there's
panic at the disco.
There's a weird play here where I did get confused with characters as we went on in this, because a guy comes up and says, I mean, why would this guy? He says, I still have questions, Mr. Grayson. He's like, I'm
of course he does. He's a good reporter. He had just gigantic bombshell he laid on Dick Grayson for the cliffhanger of the previous issue where it's like, you've been taking money from Blockbuster.
So he says he still has questions. He's like, listen, I'll answer those, but the building is burning. And that's where you end up having
Shelton Lyle, Heartless.
He comes in and says, I can't find Gerald. Dick, I can't find Gerald. My butler.
My manservant is missing, Dick.
He ends up where he's like, oh la la. So that's Bruce and Dick. And Dick ends
Him
up
and me
like,
both.
Yeah, really. And then he's like, hey, yeah, really. Bruce is like, oh my God, it's triggering his tear. He ends up where Bruce is going to go off and make sure everybody's out while Dick goes to find Gerald.
I gotta help this kid whose teeth I knocked out when we were in the 5th grade. I'll be right out, Bruce.
And that's not the part that's fun. And Bruce says, I will be quick.
I just like making fun of it. I'm skewing the review.
No, I'm saying I said that there's a bit where I don't like what happens, especially with Bruce. But then there's Nightwing is like, of course, I'll be right behind you. We'll find this guy and we'll get out of there. And you end up where, while that's going on, you have Tony Zuko. He's at, HQ.
The control center of the security part of the gala.
Yeah, they're taking out the cameras, things like that. In the meantime, there's this gas being set out, and it's a dude. Dick Grayson finds Gerald. And again, the way that Gerald looks, if you do look, he looks just like that reporter, but now he has a gas mask on. And I'm telling you, I think some people might have been thrown off, even though you say, oh, it's Gerald. But he has a gas mask on, and they are making like a paralytic. And that's the thing. Shelton is a pharmaceutical guy, so it makes sense. And this is a whole thing that Dick Grayson won't remember what happened, and he'll be paralyzed. There's a lot going on.
Oh, my God. Now, check this out. Now, the thing is, one of the anesthetics you're currently breathing in is a benzo something or other. It inhibits the brain's ability to form memories while conscious, meaning you won't remember any of it. Like, what the fuck? Is this a real thing that while you're conscious, for some reason, you're breathing something that makes it you can't remember what's happening to you in the conscious moment?
And the weird
That's crazy.
And the weird thing about this is
I'm
just
terrified.
so that Dick Grayson doesn't remember that Shelton Lyle screwed him here.
Yeah.
Because it's a weird play of what goes on, but he pops Shelton in the face and it doesn't do anything. But he's a metal
man. You don't notice. But when Shelton pops him back, he breaks some ribs and cracks the wall behind him.
He cracks the wall behind him. And he's like, all right, he says it's time for another flying Grayson to fall. So then you go from there where Dick is now passed out. You don't know what's going to happen. You go to a flashback where there's young Dick Grayson.
After he fell from the trapeze steps, yeah.
And he tastes the metal when he hit that deal. And I said, oh, that's the worst. And he comes to, Haley is yelling, we're a traveling circus for crying out loud. We got to get going.
No, Mr. Haley from the circus. What do you say, Haley? I thought you meant the dog at first.
No.
It's Mr. Haley from the circus.
And he's like, hey, with the Flying Graysons, they're the biggest thing. Everybody loves the trapeze artists. We got to get going.
We're a traveling circus. We got to travel.
They end up where you have this weird thing where Dick Grayson's dad says, look, there's a guy that can maybe fill in for a bit. He knows how to entertain the crowd. He was with the Edwards Circus for a little while. Do you have any idea who that might be? The way that it plays in there?
Now, the thing is, the way I'm going to play this, because of the whole idea of the new evidence that we found, the videotape is Tony Zuko killing his parents, because it felt like we didn't need new evidence of that before. It seems like Tom Taylor, in my mind, is going to be doing a thing where this is just how I took it. Obviously, I could be completely wrong, but I think we're going to tie back to a new storyline where Tony Zuko is a traveling performer at one point who's going to fill in. And when they come back and take his spot, he's going to be pissed and he's going to kill them. And that's going to lead to the whole the Grayson family massacre.
But then it would be that would make so little sense to never have said. But
I agree.
It either feels like it will be Tony Zuko or as an aside deal, all of a sudden you got Deadman. He just says, but that would make sense. But the other thing would be, honestly, don't you know, the Flying Lyles, and it's Shelton Lyle and his family, and that's why he's been pissed.
From the pharmaceutical company?
No, they weren't millionaires there. They were just stupid carnies and circus performers, and that he got mad, and then he's the one with this money that paid to, I'm telling you, the way that he did that with Melinda and did all that stuff, it seems like this might tie into Shelton. And maybe because his parents weren't around. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. But it felt like where it went, it's either Tony Zuko or the Lyles. I just don't understand.
I can't see it being the Lyles at all. I'm telling you, even my theory of the Zuko thing, it's very far-fetched in my mind. But it's the only thing that it can tie into the Haley Circus bit that would make any kind of sense, even though it doesn't.
I think this is going to be something that makes it more of why Heartless is Heartless. And it's just going to be eye-rolling. I hope it's not, but they say we have somebody else who can fill in. But I do think whoever it is, they're going to be the big to-do, our big break, and then 2 shows down, they're like, okay, we're back. And then they get pissed and, with the deal.
Again, we only have a couple issues left So honestly, I don't want to change Tony Zuko like that. Again, they say he's a performer. I don't know if he's a trapeze artist. Maybe he's just a fucking clown who's peddling some shit. I don't know how it works.
Still, even that seems weird from a gangster that,
I agree.
Back in the day was this.
It's very weird. He's an extortionist. But
I don't know. We're going to have to see.
The only other thing, like, you're going to, in my mind, besides for those two, the Lyles and the Zucos, the only thing we have going on here, you have to come up with a new thing that you never knew before that's a completely separate character that's going to be some kind of weird bookend to the series as a whole. Because we don't have enough issues, in my mind, to really explore this concept.
Lyles. Also, what's the difference? Extortionist or contortionist? See, that's what you do, Eric. He was a contortionist back in the day.
Extortionist.
And then somebody came in and said, hey, are you an extortionist? He misheard them. Like, yeah. Next thing you know, gangster. Right. And then if it was the deal, it would be funny if we see at the beginning of, like, say, the next issue, where in this flashback that they go back to, and you see the circus pulling into Chicago, then you're right. That it'll be Tony Zuko doing some crazy shit there or something. But when you end up with that, they're like, we love you, Dick, whatever. And then go back to Lyle bringing, somebody has to be like,
it'll just be this weird idea because we already went back with Dick's new sister, the idea that
Melinda,
with the idea that his
that's what I'm
father,
saying. He wanted to change that, and so
I'm saying that we did this, but that would also add another level to the Grayson Zuko, like rivalry, I guess. The idea where like Jonathan Grayson took everything from me. He took my wife, or my girl. He took my daughters. He took my jobs. All these other things. I don't know. It just feels like because we keep tying back to Tony Zuko and like the Graysons before they ever
nobody
died,
will like it.
We might do it again.
That would be so goofy. But if they do it again, I don't know. I don't know if it'll stick. It'd be so weird. It'd be so weird. But when you end up having, this is the part that I thought where
he comes out, just does stand-up comedy at the circus like Andrew Dice Clay.
Hey, these people, huh? What up with that? He's so bad.
Dickory duck. Oh, God, we can't have this Tony Zuko
Everybody's losing it. Like, oh, my God, he's terrible.
Think of the children.
Except John Grayson was laughing it up. Oh, my God, he's so funny. Oh, my God. He's the only one that likes it.
Tony Zuko.
Dick, you make it that Lyle looks like he's saving Dick Grayson. I thought it was like that was it. That he wanted to be looked at as, oh, my God, thank you for saving Dick Grayson. But it ends up where he's got other plans because they put him in this ambulance. Tony Zuko's involved. The thing, though, they say, hey, everybody, like, even there where Shelton's like, I got to ride with the Dick Graysons. Like, I have to make sure he saved Gerald. But in the meantime, there's no way that Barbara doesn't follow that ambulance. There's no way that Bruce Wayne does. They're taking Dick Grayson to a hospital that he might die. They don't know. They think that he's really hurt. Nobody follows that ambulance, and that is complete and utter bullshit. One person would have. If it wasn't Bruce, it would have been Barbara. It would have been one of them, and they just kind of let him go. They say that Shelton can't ride in the ambulance with Dick Grayson. Yeah. But Bruce is right there and just has like a sourpuss look on his face. There is no way he's not getting a car and following Dick Grayson to the hospital and seeing that he's okay and being with him at the hospital. But if that happened, you couldn't do what you did. I think that that's the big misplay of the entire issue, where nobody is going with Dick Grayson, even if they can't go in the ambulance with him. But because this is all a dupe, everybody's in on the game. And they're going to grab Dick Grayson. And there is a funny part because they're looking for a phone that can be tracked. And they just pull out the Nightwing mask. And Tony Zuko loses his mind. And he says, Dick Grayson.
He's fucking Nightwing? There are two peoples I hate in this world. And he's both of them.
Yeah. And he's
so
like,
good.
Oh, my God, it's so good. And then there's people around. And at that point, Shelton had gone around the corner. He put on his, Heartless mask. He comes out. And that's where Gerald then says, I'm going to slice and dice everybody, even where he gets one guy in the gut, gets one guy in the throat. And I think that you're playing a thing here where I think Tom Taylor, because Tom Taylor doesn't like to make anybody bad, I think he's trying to, again, make you feel bad for Shelton because the idea was like, we didn't need to do that. And he's like, no, we do. And it's all Gerald. It's all going to be Gerald. He's going to be looked at as, oh, he manipulated him this whole time, even though Heartless is just awful. But they do have a crazy plan here. I guess they're thinking on their feet where they do end up killing.
This is such a great plan. When you take Dick Grayson, you put him on a roof, you call the authorities. Dick Grayson is like, still fucked up from the paralytic that he was given. The biggest problem that he had in my mind is for some reason, like he wakes up, he knows he has something on his face, but hasn't taken it off yet. He's wearing the Heartless mask. The body of the reporter is laying in front of him with the heart removed, and he sees the gun on the ground and immediately picks up the heart removing gun right as the cops show up. I'm like, Why'd you pick up the gun?
I know. And then he says, I can't drop it because it has my fingerprints and there's a heart in the gun from the reporter. Oh, it's so bad. And he tries to get away.
Don't move, Heartless.
And he's trying to get away. And Eric, he can't leap. He gets
he
to that
so
side.
He looks so good, though, in that long coat and the Heartless mask and the Nightwing hair just flowing over it.
And they even shoot him in the shoulder. I mean, they're like, oh, my goodness. And he's like, oh, my God, please, it's not me or whatever. And he doesn't realize what's going on. And then they rip the mask off of him and see that it's Dick Grayson. It's Dick Grayson. I'd be like funny where that cop's like, I hate the Dick Grayson. Like he's like, the two people I hate the most, Dick Grayson and the Heartless are the same people. But that's a crazy play. We've been talking about the idea.
Such a great cliffhanger.
Of like Heartless is just kind of that one trick deal. And even changed a bit. At one point it was just like, I'm going to grab hearts from people who are missed and loved by people. Then it was that, I need the hearts because I'm a cybernetic monstrosity, and then gets Blockbuster's heart, and then goes back to not really doing much, and now we're here. But the idea of him being smart enough to play this plan out and then have them think that Dick Grayson is Heartless, it's great. It's a really good cliffhanger. I'm wondering how Dick Grayson could get out of this.
I didn't need to take your heart. I took it metaphorically from the ideals that you put out there for the people of Bloodhaven.
Yeah, it's insane, the idea that now he is now wanted or known. They're going to think as Heartless. It's crazy. Yeah, he'll be arrested. Now, I would think that in the meantime, there would be things where Bruce Wayne, local lawyer, comes in and says, well, listen, we have this, presentation that was being done at this gala. At the same time, somebody's heart was like, there's going to be things that they probably could.
I don't think that Shelton Lyle will have taken a heart during this whole thing. He seems too smart for that, especially putting all together.
There were things where they were doing things.
I got you.
They'll be able to go back. And I do think that there would be some conflicting things. Dick Grayson was in Gotham at this point. They were doing this, that, whatever. But that gives Shelton a lot of time to do whatever the fuck he wants.
Other person was taking hearts in Gotham, huh?
Yeah. And again, then Bruce Wayne's arrested. He's Heartless too. But no, even then,
as well.
I mean, we're going to have B show up and the hold and whatever, how we get out of it. We'll have to see what's going on. But how do you get out of the idea that Tony Zucco knows that Nightwing is the deal? Now, it's weird. I'm waiting for them to say, don't you get it? That gas that makes you forget, like, that was still residual in well, they know he's Nightwing. So how do you get out of that? That's crazy. That's big. So what would you give it?
I'll give this an 8 out of 10.
I'm an 8 out of 10 as well.
And the biggest problem, and I'm sure it will be resolved in the next issue, is the idea that Barbara and Bruce weren't following behind.
Yeah, I just don't know how they could have had, and they took a while when they got to the hospital too, and had that big truck behind and killing people and whatnot. So hopefully they're there.
It's a good issue with an amazing cliffhanger, and I can't wait for the first time in a long time to see what happens next in Nightwing.
Weird science is the revolution.